Hey class, this is Mrs. Lynn. Welcome to another week of remote learning. If my math is correct, I believe we're in week 7. So we have about 3 more weeks of school to go. But hopefully you had a good week, that you got to go out this weekend and enjoy the sun. I think we had both Saturday and Sunday 72-degree weather, which is so awesome. So hopefully you got to go out outside to enjoy that a little bit. So this week we're going to continue what we started last week, which was beginning research. So last week was when we started our final unit for the school year on information literacy, which is just a really fancy term for knowing how to do research and knowing what to do with the information that we find during our research, right? So last week, we read Library Mouse by Daniel Kirk about becoming an author and sharing what you know and love. We also reviewed the 4 steps to beginning research, and then we completed a fun research activity on an animal of your choice. So thank you for those who have done that and turned those in. Um, and then for the next couple weeks, you guys will be practicing those same 4 steps in a biography project. Now, we talked about biographies last Friday when we read that Library Mouse book. So, biographies are basically texts or books written on about a famous person, whether that person is an artist, a inventor, a scientist, whatever their job might be. A biography is a book that's written about them. So in your on your homework page, you're going to click on this link for the directions of this project. And then after I'm done with this video, I'm going to post the video here as well. So let's go into the directions document. That way we can kind of go over what's required for this project. Now, this project is going to be a 2-week long project. So it's actually not going to be due right away. So you're going to get started working on choosing a person to do your research on this week. And then you're also this week going to decide what sources you're going to use for this project. You're not limited to using just one book or one website. You're able to use multiple resources if you want. And actually, that's what I would encourage. Because that's what research is like in the real world, right? We're not just going to do research using one book or one website. Most of the time, you're going to be using multiple resources to help you gather information. So let's go into that directions file so we can kind of look at what we're going to be doing. So in this file, this is where you're going to find the directions for the project. I've um, inserted several images of famous people to kind of spark your interest in case you don't really know where to get started. So these are just some of the people that are interesting to Mrs. Lynn, but you might be curious about other famous people in an area that you're interested in, right? So there's Dr. Seuss. There's one of my favorite figure skaters, Michelle Kwan. You'll probably recognize some of these people. There's Mr. Rogers. Frida is one of the most famous female artists in the world. Um, Amelia Earhart, right? So you can do whatever you want, right? Pick whoever sparks an interest in you. Um, then I've listed a bunch of standards. This is really for your parents to read through and for Mr. Turk to read through, just to talk about what this project teaches you. Um, so you can kind of skip that part. That's the boring part. And then here are the directions. So the first step of any kind of research, we talked about this last week, was to choose a topic that you're interested in. So for this project, you're going to be choosing a famous person. That person could be an author, a musician, an artist, an athlete, a scientist. Um, your imagination will take you where you want to go with this project. So if I've not listed a type of famous person in your head, don't worry, you can go ahead and choose whatever you want. The second step is to think about where you can find more information about this person. So, will you be using a book, a magazine article, a newspaper article, or are you going to be using websites you find on the internet? Remember, again, you're not limited to just one type of resource. I'm going to encourage you to use multiple types. Okay. And then the step three is to organize your information. So for this step, I've actually included in this document a bunch of graphic organizers to help you organize your information. So if you scroll down, one of them is already in this document, and it's basically a chart or a table that help you organize your information. You can type directly into this chart or print it out and handwrite your notes. Okay. But I've also actually included four other graphic organizers. So if you were to click on one of these links, okay, it will take you to something you can print out. Okay, so here's another biography graphic organizer that will help you organize your information. Um, for this one, you're going to write down the name of the person you're researching in the middle, their birth date, okay, and if they've already passed away, you can write down their the date of their death. And then you can maybe talk about their early life. What's their childhood like? What are their character traits? Are they creative? Are they um, research minded? Like if they're a scientist, are they innovative? Right? Some of those character traits that's to do with your person, any fun facts you can find in your research, and where is that person from. So maybe they were born in a different parts of the world, but maybe they've grown up and have done all their life's work in a different part of the world. So where are they from, and then what are they famous for? Okay, so those are just some ideas to spark your research. And then you can look at other organizers as well if that one doesn't work for you. But these are things you can print out and write your notes in. Okay. And that was step three. Step four, once you have gathered your information, once you have filled out your graphic organizers, step four is then sharing your information. Now, I've created a link here to ABCS StoryMaker. And for this week, you're not going to worry about this step. Okay, I'm actually going to post another video next week about what to do once you have all of your information. So for this week, the link is there, but you're not actually going to do anything with that step. Okay, because this week you're just going to choose your person, start your research, and start taking notes on your person. I don't want you to hurry through the first three steps because your final product, the quality of that, is going to really depend on how well you do the first three steps. Okay, so we're not going to rush. We're going to leave that step till next week. I won't post any directions for that until next week. All right, but it is there for you just for your reference. All right, so let me take you to pebble.org, Pebble Go again, which is the website that I showed you last week for your animal research. And I want to show you this website again because it has a really good biography section that you might want to use for if you choose to use a website for your research. So the link will take you to mail.org kids, and you're going to scroll down again to where it says Pebble Go, okay? And you're going to click on that link. Now, Pebble Go is a website that's really perfect for your reading level. And that's why I kind of encourage you to go there. Remember, last week we did our research in the animal section, but this week you can go directly into biographies. Okay. And I really like this website. And actually, for now, I'm going to close down my webcam so you can see the full page. Okay. I really like this website because it broke down the different biographies by categories. So if you're really interested in studying a African American or an author or artist, you can just go right into that category. For me, because I think May is Asian American month, I'm going to go into Asian Americans because that's what Mrs. Lin is. And I'm going to see if they have any information on people that I'm interested in. But before we even get in there, just remember there's all sorts of categories that you can explore. There's scientists, there's just a whole category on famous women in history. There's explorers, right? So there's a lot to look at. But for me, let's go into Asian Americans. Now, remember on my document, I included a picture of Michelle Kwan. She is one of my favorite skaters. Okay, so I can go in right there. And just like your animal research, there are all these little tabs that you can click on to find out more information about your person. Now, depending on who you pick, your tabs will look different from mine, right? So Michelle Kwan is an athlete. She's been competing she's competed in Olympic figure skating events. So her tabs are going to be very different from yours depending on what you've picked. Okay, so if yours look a little different from mine, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just the tabs are going to depend on the person you picked. So I can read and gather information by just clicking on these links. Okay, if you want the website to read to you, you can click on that sound button and it will read the words to you. And as I read, I'm going to be taking notes, right? Um, I'm also going to show you this link. Some of your pages will have this read more tab. That's if you've read all the information on the 5 or 6 tabs that are included, but you need more information. So you can actually click on that read more tab if it's provided. Okay. And you can read more articles. Now, in this case, it just gives you more articles on other athletes. That's not going to be very helpful. But underneath, you might be able to find videos on Michelle Kwan or a timeline. You can click on those as well. So let's go back to, let's see, let's look at the timeline and see what it gives us. Okay. So this gives me a timeline of Michelle Kwan, starting from when she was born and where she was born. Um, all the way to pretty current. Let me see if I can use my arrow keys to kind of advance on my timeline. Okay, so the timeline kind of starts in kind of where she was born and then ends in 2010, which is not super current. This is only 10 years ago. So that's not super current information, but that's okay. If you just want to find some facts about the person, this might be a good place to look for those facts. I'm going to close on the timeline. You can also watch a video on Michelle Kwan. It's a really short video. It's about 34 seconds long, but it might give you additional information, right? And then when you're done, you can and go back to the biographies page and look for more information. If you decide after looking at a couple of things about the person you chose that you didn't really have enough information on that person, you can go back to the biographies page and choose another person, right? That's kind of part of the research process. You chose a topic, but you might decide kind of down the road that that's not kind of what you're looking for. You can always start over and choose another person. It's part of the research process, but it's also part of the STEM inquiry process, right? In that engineering kind of process, we talked about asking a question, imagining the answers or solutions, and then planning your solution or your creation, creating the product, and then improving on your creation. Well, all those steps can be repeated in that cycle, right? So if you started creating something and you know it's not going to work, you can always go back to the beginning of your planning stages or your brainstorming and figuring out ways to improve your product. So the same thing goes with research. You might start your research on a person and decide that, you know what, I don't have enough information to go on, so I might want to start over. That's okay. That's just part of the process. So I'm going to leave you to this page. This is a good place to start. But if you find other websites to do your research on that you really like, feel free to use those websites. Again, this is just a starting point. You can also use books, like I said, and magazines. If you have magazines at home that have articles on the person that you're interested in, you can feel free to use that. But remember, this week is just about choosing that person and then starting that research. Have fun with this. If you run into any issues with your research, you can always email Mrs. Lynn or have your parents email me, and I can help you with the steps that you're confused with. But for this week, you're really only doing that first three steps, like I said. So when you've gotten started, you can have your parents use that check in form to let me know where you are, but you really don't have to because nothing is due this week. The check in form is just for your parents to let me know if you're doing your work. If you are, that's fine. You can have your parents turn in something for you if you want, but it's optional at this point. I probably will check in with you though on Friday when we meet up for the virtual story time and check in. So be ready to share with us at that time what you have done. Maybe share a little bit about the person you're doing your research on, um, but just have fun with it. All right. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, happy research, happy reading, and I'll hopefully see you Friday. Talk to you later.